As an academy owner, you work hard to build trust with your students, their parents, and your community. But trust isn't something you claim, it's something you prove and earn. That's where Academy Safe comes in. We help academies like yours stand out with verified safety standards. Background checks for all staff, U.S. Center for Safe Sport certification, concussion training, defibrillators on site, CPR, first aid and AED certification, security cameras, rank and lineage checks, and verification of business insurance. Join the trusted martial arts registry that's redefining safety throughout North America. Lead by example. Show parents you're accredited with Academy Safe.
Hello, and welcome to My Empty Hands, a podcast about the martial arts, typically with a focus on Kempo, but we give love to all the arts around here. As always, I am Reggie Darden, and I'm excited to have my guest on for today, Anthony Herrera, and we are going to get into his journey and whatever other rat holes we decide to get onto, we'll do that as well. I usually start things off by just giving a little bit of my background. I currently train in 5 different martial arts: American Kempo, Hapkido, Brazilian Jiu-Jitsu, Muay Thai, and Capoeira. I also have some experience in Taekwondo and boxing. So needless to say, I stay pretty busy. So with all the training and the podcast and work and life, I no rest for the wicked. So, but that's my story there. So we will turn it over to our guest here, and go ahead and let me and the listeners know where did the martial arts find you? Where did it all get started? And we'll just go from there.
Sure thing, Reggie. It's an honor to be on your show. I'm looking forward to chatting with you and kind of sharing my story. I know stories are not meant to stay between the person telling it, but to go out into the world to encourage and to help other people and maybe give some other people light into their world and tell people that they're not alone. So I started Taekwondo when I was about 8 years old. Not sure that I wanted to, but I was kind of geeky back then, a little bit of we'll say a nerd. I'm still a nerd. I'm still geeky, but you know what? I can back it up now. But I started when I was 8 years old in response to being bullied in school. And it was a lot different back in the 80s when you're bullied. It was a lot more physical, and the teachers kind of, I'm not going to say they encouraged it, but they wanted boys to be boys and kind of work things out for themselves, especially if they didn't see everything that was going on. So my dad worked with, I believe that he was a 7th degree black belt in, I think it was in karate. However, I'm not sure what form of karate, but he also knew Tang Sudo, and he was teaching Taekwondo, which, back in the 80s, it was still kind of a newer martial art. Not new, but newer. So it felt a lot more like Tang Sudo, felt a lot more like karate. There was those flavors. There was the belt progression of karate, where it was a lot smaller belts, but a lot more time to develop. So I trained until I was about 10 years old there under him. And again, this was a newer thing. And I was the only youth at 8 years old in a class full of adults. There was probably 9, 10, 11 students there at the time. And I was the only child there. So I got my reps in. It was, it was not built for 8 years old, but I made it my own, and suffice it to say, my bully situation ended pretty quickly. So that's where I started. So I can definitely go on from there, but whatever questions you have regarding that so far.
Very nice, very nice. Now, do you recall what I guess, Kwan of Taekwondo. I'm not super familiar with all the different Kwans, but was it like ITF style or WT style or
No, looking
with that?
back, right? Looking back, he was just an independent, and I don't know that he style or he was a part of any Quan. It looking in retrospect, I'm going to say that it was probably WTF at the time, probably. So it was probably in that style. Trying to going back and remembering the way that I moved. Of course, Taekwondo back then was a lot different than it is now. So even just compare it, you can't compare the apple to apple anymore because the apple changed. So, but I'm going to say that it was some sort of WTF style, but I couldn't say what Quan it was.
Okay,
So,
all right, no problem there.
sure.
So you started with Taekwondo. Did you move into any other styles, or still Taekwondo? Or
Well, back then, it was all just whatever he taught me. So there was, because he knew that I was there for self-defense and to build up. He did teach me some more of the like Tang Sudo styles. I didn't know this at the time, but looking back, I did see. I can see now. In the yearbook aspect of life or whatever there was more aspects than just Taekwondo built into what he wanted to teach me. And I studied until I was 10 years old. So there was 2 years there that I did study, and it was kind of funny because I got frustrated. And here's, one thing that I learned over the years is not the progression, it's the progress. Like, never compare yourself to other belts. Never try to reach the next belt, but allow the belts, to come. However, when you're a kid, you're like, "Ooh, shiny new belt! I need that, so I'm going to, whatever." But I would compare myself to other people that I saw, and like, "Hey, they progressed faster than me. Why are they having a new belt like at a tournament or whatever?" That I'd see them month to month or whatever, or half year to half year. I see that they got several, steps up, and I'm still here. But like I said, my instructor, he was a lot harder on me, and he wanted me to earn the belts. And he had a lot fewer belts than, there was no such thing as purple belt in my school. So there's no such thing as camouflage belt that you see nowadays in some disciplines, things like that. So he made me work for it. And then 2 years into it, I was hospitalized with sicknesses that I found out later that my parents didn't tell me, obviously, that they were pretty severe, as well as broken my foot and toes several times in tournaments and things like that. So my dad figured that it was time to kind of hang up the mouth guard and move out of it for now, because he didn't want me to suffer or have to get frustrated at my inabilities as a martial artist to progress. So at the age of 10, I stopped and found other interests, found other, things that kept me entertained, or honed my other abilities and things like that. So still a nerd, but a little bit tougher of a nerd back then. So I did come back, though, and that's where we are today, because when my oldest son became about 8 years old, my wife and I got custody of him. And he would go off for summers, and he would come back undisciplined and have focus issues, have not serious like behavioral issues, but just enough to get him into a place where it would put him into trouble. And I'm like, you know what? We're going to put him in this awesome program that we have for boys at church, and then we're going to put him in Taekwondo. That's it. I know what it did for me. I know what it does for people. And I would watch from the sidelines, and I would see him going from his belt progression into all the 97 belts that they have now. And then he earned his first dan, and then he went for his second dan, and now he's sitting at a second-degree black belt. This was several years ago, and he quit. He quit, at least hopefully for a time, because I'd love for him to come back for a while to study, to work on school and everything like that. And then my wife and I have another son, and when he turned, when he was about 6.5, he got interested in it. He saw all of his brothers forms and his belt progressions and everything, and he wanted to do it at a young age. I'm like, all right, well, we're going to wait until you're actually able to do these moves, because when 2, 3, 4 years old, it's not really a martial art. It's just learning how to not fall, and learning how to fall correctly. So he got into it, and I'm still sitting on the sidelines watching and congratulating and saying, kick above your belt, doing all these things, coaching from the sidelines, if you will, but not participating. And then the owner of the school that my son is at right now, my younger son, he kept, he would bring me into the mat to hold targets or whatever for him, and all these other things. And he and I developed kind of a kinship and a friendship. He kind of respected my older style of Taekwondo, because he would ask me to demonstrate something for him, and it would be completely quote unquote wrong, but it was right for me back then. And he saw that I had a heart for these kids, that I loved seeing them, and I was cheering them on and high-fiving, even if I wasn't really a part of their world yet. I was still developing these bonds with the children and with their parents, and encouraging them and stuff. And he said, well, you should be a coach. And I said, well, how do I be a coach? He said, well, you have to be a black belt to be a coach. I said, okay, how does that work? He said, just test for it, I guess. Because I'm the oldest student at this. I'm actually the oldest anything at the school, at the dojan. Beside, I think the refrigerator's older than me, but so he told me, you have a great background. It looks like you know exactly what you're doing. All you need to do is, make sure that you learn all of the pumse that you need to know, and all of the other stuff. Get your fitness up. I was rocking about 200 pounds back then, and then so I cut back down to like 160 in 6 months to get into shape to be able to test. And then I tested for my black belt, my first dan, and joined up as I guess it's a junior kind of instructor type of position, because you can't really instruct fully until second degree. So that's where I am now. I'm testing for my second degree in June. So that's my thing. Like, I just wanted to be coaching. And then I'm like, oh, I remember how awesome Taekwondo is. And I remember how awesome it is to push myself and to actually feel better now in my 40s than I did even in my early 30s. Like, it's like a revitalization, and the kids, I progress with the kids, and some of the kids that I was training for a couple of years now are right there alongside of me, trying to earn their degrees, their first or second degrees. Some of them, they're even their third degrees. So it's an amazing journey to actually walk side by side, as well as lead some of these kids in this school, and to remember what Taekwondo and martial arts in general means to me, and what it means to the world. That it's more than just like a sport. A lot of people have turned into a sport, and I guess that's okay for some people, but to me, it's a way of life. The art is how to portray myself through, using my hands and feet. And just to bring that back to that whole 80s mentality, maybe not necessarily the roughness or the, lay your opponent down in one punch type of thing, but the actual being one and knowing how your body works, and how your mind and your soul and your everything connects to each other to find balance and find peace, and to know who you are type of thing, makes it feel like I'm actually passing a little bit of myself on to the next generation, especially to my sons, but also to anybody that would, listen to what I have to say and see my style and how I hold myself. So that's the nutshell version of it. I mean, I could talk a lot about it, but that's where I am, and why I am the way I am right now. So.
Very nice, very nice. Yeah, that is the beauty of the martial arts, is that even if you have to step away from it, life gets in the way sometimes, and we can't always train as much as we want to, and sometimes we have to take a little break, but we can. It's still always there, and we can still always come back to it, and then just reap all the benefits of it. I like that you were able to it's a family thing. You have your
Oh yeah.
kids doing it, and then that
Mm-hmm.
gets you back into it, and
Mm-hmm.
uh, quite an impressive to be able to slim down and get ready for that test, and just jump right back into it, and continue on. So that's what
Mm-hmm.
I love about it. The old commercial, I don't know, Motel 6 or something like that, and it's like, we'll leave the light on for you. Martial arts
Right.
is very much that way. That we leave the light on, we leave the door open so that you can come through it at any point. So
Right.
very nice.
Yeah, and even my wife, she saw us doing our practicing and everything, and she wanted to. She's always been fitness minded. She's always on the treadmill, and she's always out, exercising and doing yoga or whatever. And she saw the family, moving forward in black or towards black belts. All three of us have black belts now, and then my wife wanted to get involved. She's like, "Well, I just want to learn a little bit of maybe kickboxing or maybe a little bit of." Form so that I can get some movement going and know how to. But I'm like, you know what? Why don't you just join? Why don't you just become a taekwondoist? And she's like, well, okay. So we created a new class for adults for mostly moms that want to be more fitness oriented, but also work on progression. So now she's going to be testing for her green belt pretty soon. And it's like, hey, might as well just jump in. So we're a whole family of martial artists, and it's pretty awesome being able to have that. We're all our individual people. We all have our own personalities, but we all have a common bond in that. We have several common bonds, but one of the things that we enjoy doing is like, hey, can you watch me do this pumse and see where I'm lacking, or how am I doing with my positioning and stuff like that. So it's really awesome to be able to share off of each other and actually train with each other to get a little bit better. So we are definitely a martial arts family, and I think it's great as the head of the family. It's a dream come true to be able to have that kind of cohesiveness with my family. So.
Excellent, excellent. Yes, a family that trains together stays together. So that's very awesome. That not only can it's an activity that you all can do together, but
Mhm.
it's also makes for good training partners. You can always help each other out and things like that. The kids come home and they have their martial arts homework and make
Mhm.
sure that they are doing it. And I mean, nothing wrong with the parents not being involved, but it's so much, at least in my thought, it's so much more helpful to be able to uh, know what the kids are learning and what they're
Mhm.
doing, and be able to understand it and be able to help them, and help not only motivate them, but help them with the training, and with learning all the curriculum, and being
Mhm.
able to practice that together. So I think that's a very good thing to have. So very
Yeah,
nice.
absolutely. And like a kind of a tangent off of that, like even back then when I was not involved, just watching from the sidelines, you could tell like the parents that were there that used martial arts as more of a babysitter or an after school activity type of thing, and then the ones that were involved, and then watching the kids that had parents um, looking at them and watching their movements and watching things like that. And when they come off the mat, they would, tell them, okay, bow, and then you put their arm around them and say, hey, that was awesome. You could tell the difference between the progress, how much better they were getting if you had the parents that were actually watching them instead of staring at their iPhones or working or doing something besides, and there's nothing wrong with that. Sometimes I have to do a little bit of work while I'm on the side while the kids are doing something else. That's life. But, to have parents that are engaged in their martial arts training, not necessarily like a coach or training alongside with them, but being there and supporting them. You have the parents that drop them off and leave, and then you see the kids are struggling to get up in ranks, and it's because they don't have that support or that encouragement or that push behind that says, hey, practice or do some exercising at home and things like that. When the kids are like, oh, I don't want to. Well, we all don't want to. Obviously it's hard. Obviously, I'd rather be reading my comic books and listening to some music besides trying to stretch and move my 46-year-old legs in different directions that they don't want to go. But having the parents encouraging them and telling them, hey, you're going to get better, you're getting awesome, you're progressing, I see it every week and everything like that. Coaching can only go so far. We only have 45 an hour with them per session. Maybe some of them are only there for one session a week. Some of them are there 2, 3, 4, but that's not that much time when you're trying to get better at an art. So it's awesome to be able to be as involved as I am in my son's and my wife's training, but also to it's great to actually just be there for them nonetheless, or be a tangent parental type figure to some of the kids that don't have that in our school, in our dojang, to be able to encourage them or pat them on the head. That's my thing. I pat kids on the head, and some of them, try to do a high block on it to force it away or whatever. Some of it just really accept it because they need that kind of love. But, that's like one thing that I really want the parents to hear, is that even if it's not your jam, even if it's not your gig, or you don't understand it, maybe it's something that you reluctantly stepped into because your kid watched a kung fu movie or a cartoon or something like that, and they wanted to do this. Make it feel like their jam is worth it. Make it feel like you're standing behind them, even if you don't understand it, even if it's hard for you to grasp why getting kicked in the face is awesome. Make it something that you can get behind and just encourage and say, what, this is your thing, and because it's your thing, I love it as well. And the kids feel that they feel the love just because of the support that you give them. And there's nothing that promotes. The greatest instructors, the greatest masters, the greatest coaches, the greatest senseis in the world can't teach you that kind of support. They can't give it to you, and you're going to get faster, or you're going to get better faster. You're going to progress quicker if you have the support of a family around you. If there's one person that picked that up from what I'm saying in my babbles, then awesome. I've done my job as a coach, and I can retire because I'm old. But I really hope somebody hears that part of my my talks today.
Very nice. Yeah. Well said. I'm definitely of the camp of yes. If you have your kids in the martial arts, don't just drop them off and run away. Like be there, be involved, be a part of the training. I mean, it's better if you get on the mats with them, but even if you don't, at least stay in there, stay involved. Understand what's going on, and be an active part of their training, and not just going off and doing your own thing. And like you said, just letting the school be a babysitter or whatnot.
Right.
Yeah, it's really important to be a part of it. So now with the school that you're at now, is that part of a particular Kwan, or what kind of style?
Yeah, it's WT. We're definitely WT, and it's we try to keep as current as possible. So there's not like, we're not in any kind of like Buddha Kwan or anything like that, but it's just straight WT. We try to stay current with sparring techniques, things like that. The what's popular, what's the rule books now, how fast does the wrist need to snap, when you're throwing the blocks now, type of thing. So it's very regimented. Not to say that we don't have all of our styles, like all the coaches. Excuse me, I don't know where that came from. All the coaches are just a little bit different. Like I said, some of us are in our 40s, some of us are in our 30s, 20s, things like that. So we all have a little bit of a different thing, but we try to enforce WT onto the training regiment. Of course, when the kids get a little bit higher in their training, say like second degree, we want them to kind of make Taekwondo their own. So we have part of our testing as exploratory. So we want you to pick up boxing or nunchucks or sai or, karate or kung fu type of thing. And obviously not be, a master in it, but show that you are learning jujitsu or whatever, that you're actually incorporating other styles. We want you to pick up different kinds of punches. So whether it's, a finger strike or something like that, or a 1-inch punch or a scorpion kick, something that you normally don't see in Taekwondo. We want you to kind of start learning and branching out to make it your own instead of just WT, because we're going to teach you WT, but we want you to learn everything. We want you to pick up something and make it your martial art instead of our martial arts. So while we do, like I said, stick to WT formatting, it's a lot more focused on individuality type of thing. We want you to be you. We don't want you to be us, because it's more fun that way. So
Gotcha. Yeah, it's martial arts is a very personal journey. We all have to get in what we need and fit it for us, because what works for me may not work for you, and for the next person. So yes, it's a very individual journey, and setting it up for each person is key. So with having incorporating these other items, have you ventured off and experimented with any other styles or systems or anything like that?
myself, I really would excuse me, I would really love to be into like BJJ, because we actually teach it at our school. However, I am way past that point where my bones would want me to do that.
Gotcha.
My muscles, everything. I've had scoliosis as a kid. My bones haven't recovered the way that they're supposed to recover, because I'm like, oh, screw it, I'll just kick again and break it even further, and it's not going to set right. So my body doesn't want to do that anymore. But I have picked up some more defensive weapons type of things. Right now I'm studying, like I said, for my second degree, my second dan, and I'm picking up the sai because I love the defensive weapons. So I'm not all about, attack, but the sai is a lot more defensive type of thing, and very incredibly difficult to maneuver because it's shorter, it's heavier, it's bulkier, things like that. So it's a challenge for me. I'm also stepping back into like Tang Sudo. Instead of just like a punch here and there, I'm trying to actually find instructor in the area that will show me some more than just the basics, to kind of branch out and be more well-rounded, instead of just awesome jumping back kicks or 360 kicks or tornadoes. I want to be able to hone that the strength of the energy of the earth into my attacks and things. Obviously I will never use it, hopefully, in real life, but just to know that I can knock a practice dummy on, knock the head off of a practice dummy is pretty cool. And using it as a trick for my future grandkids would be, pretty amazing. And to be able to teach it, that's obviously, we're coming back to me wanting to teach and to spread my knowledge. So that's like one thing that has really grabbed my attention, because I know that Taekwondo has its roots in like the Korean or the Chinese systems, Tang Sudo, and karate from Japan, of course, but some of the kung fu elements and boxing elements. So getting back to the roots and like, hey, what was Taekwondo beforehand, before it actually became a thing, is kind of where I want to go. So it's obviously, I have all the time in the world, because I'm a father, I'm a deacon at my church, I'm a coach, I have a job and a half, or actually like 2 jobs and everything like that, and some other stuff on the side, and everything, 2 sons and all this other jazz. So obviously I have all the time in the world to train and to be the best martial artist ever. Jackie Chan, eat your heart out. but the little that I can put in here and there just to pick up and taste it and put it down and then taste it and put it down again type of thing is I know that I'm not young and that I do have responsibilities outside of the dojang. So just recognizing my limitations and the time frames that I have, and making time when I'm able to make time instead of sitting on my butt and withering away or whatever, to actually discipline myself to say, hey, I have 5 minutes, let's see what I can do in those 5 minutes. So that's kind of where I want to go, and it's just like I said, little things here and there, little disciplines from other cultures here and there, sticks here and there, everything else. So that's it's not a need for me or a drive for me like, hey, I need to incorporate this, but it's more of a, hey, what if I can take a few minutes to try to incorporate that into my normal repertoire. So it would be a great thing to be, to hold black belts in several disciplines, but really I'll never get there. I'm looking at third degree after my second degree. I'm like, yeah, it would be cool to be able to spend a few more years and get my third degree, but who knows? I'm just taking it one step at a time. And obviously there's more exploration and stuff like that when you go for your third degree. And if I go there, I go there. But I'm, right now Taekwondo is the jam, and anything else that I can put on as an accessory is really cool. But yeah, it's and that's my pace I'm at. I'm no longer in my 20s and able to rule the world. So we're just taking it day by day, and something interests me, I'll try it out, and if it doesn't, set it aside, and if it does, then find another 5 minutes to work on it. So yeah.
Very nice, very nice, very nice. Okay, so I want to pivot here a little bit and go to the competing side. I would assume since you're the doing the WT style that competing has been a part of your journey, and so if so, can you go ahead and talk a little bit about that?
Yeah, so way back in the day, back when it was in the 80s and you only wore a mouth guard and a cup to tournaments, I would do those things, and I was not tooting my own horn, but I was pretty good. I'm always been focused on getting better. So we would walk into tournaments 3 times a year, and my instructor, Master Heroyan, he passed away several years ago, but he didn't believe in doing the traditional pumse. So, and I like even back then the Pogways were more prominent, or not prominent, but they were still a thing. They're almost completely phased out now. But he didn't like those. He didn't like the traditional forms. So we would always make freestyle forms. So my thing was creating forms for myself at the age of 8, 9, 10 years old, and doing the demos with those at the tournaments. And then, of course, the sparring was also, I love doing the sparring. So I would generally walk away with first or second place on those, and then just do that. I really, really love doing it. My mom, not so much. She didn't like seeing me getting kicked, but my dad loved seeing me kick. I don't know if he was just, living through me, or if he thought that I deserved getting kicked, or whatever the case may be, but he liked me being in those tournaments, and, he encouraged me to be in wrestling in high school, just so I could do the tournaments and things. And so I did really well. I excelled in those. And then when my, fast forwarding it, several decades later, my oldest son that, got the second degree already and kind of, stepped away from Taekwondo for now. He never really was into the tournaments. He's very, well, I'm very introverted by nature. I can talk to 1 or 2 people at a time. But like being in the middle of people is really hard for me. He's got exactly the same quality, but he acts on it more. He just pulls back and doesn't allow people near him, which is, I think, great. I understand him. But he never liked the tournament. He's like, I don't care. I don't need to do anything. It's not my thing. I'm like, all right, cool. Your Taekwondo is your Taekwondo. My younger son, he loves the tournaments. He's all about getting in the middle of there, and he really likes doing the board breaking, and that's really important for him, is to show that his technique is so tight that it's the break is impeccable, and he likes doing the forms, the pair forms with some of his buddies, because he gets to be up there with his friends playing and show off and everything like that. He doesn't really like getting kicked, even though they're all armored up with medieval gear now, and I won't get started on that. But he doesn't really like that. But he's never really been trained. Our school doesn't really emphasize the sparring aspect too much right now, just because there's so much going on. We're trying to expand and everything, but he doesn't really like that. And I get that itch, to get back in there and do. I have been primarily the secondary coach whenever we do tournaments, but the primary coach for that used to do tournaments kind of stepped into a different position, in a different environment, and kind of left me in the lurch. So I'm going to be picking up that primary coach for tournaments starting this year. But I do look at them and I'm like, man, I would really like to see, to test my mettle, to see what I got against other people. Not comparing myself to them, but just, do I have what it takes? Am I good enough to step in there and see what I can put out there and hold my own? Whether it is in forms or whether it is in sparring. I really don't care about board breaking, because what did the board ever do to me? But I get the itch. I want to do it. But then my wife brings me back to reality and says, you know what? You're closer to 50 than you are to 40. And I am like, yeah. She's like, that the other oldest person here that is sparring is 19 years old. I'm like, yeah, you're not 19 years old. I'm like, I understand what you're saying. I get it. I'm fine with that. So she's like, just sit on the sidelines and encourage these kids. That's what you're here for. This is what you're great at. So she obviously she's trying to protect me, and she knows. My brain and my body don't talk to each other sometimes. My brain's like, yeah, you go for it. You're still awesome. You're still great at this. You're going to destroy these little punks that don't know anything. But then my body's like, you old fool. So I really do love the tournament environment, and I know that that's a controversial point, in today's society. Like, why are you competing against other people? Just push yourself, type of thing. Or why is why do points matter? Or why do ranks matter even? And I agree to all of that, but just to actually demonstrate who you are and to be proud of yourself. Like, I've told my kids, I don't care about the trophies. I don't care about the belts. I want to see you get better today than you were last week. But to be able to say, I earned this. This is my accomplishment that I have, that I can show physically, is kind of a cool thing for especially for younger kids. So I do encourage my students to pick up the tournaments whenever they can, whenever they're able to, and I kind of subsidize them a little bit if they need scholarships to be able to go in there, because it's expensive sometimes. Some of them are money grabs. Some of them are very legitimate demonstrations that they put out to showcase what martial arts brings to community and to individuals. But I'm always there, on the sidelines, living vicariously now through these guys, and helping them to hone their skills, and maybe putting my own influence on them a little bit to see if I can, get them to kick a hole in the chest of the other person. But we're not going to tell them that. We're just going to allow them to figure that out themselves 20 years down the line. So that's where I am with tournaments. Like, I love them, just because you get to kind of, outside of your own dojang, to kind of go out into the real world, see what other people are doing, and, showing your Taekwondo to everybody else, and seeing how you are compared to your own self. Like, I know how to do my form here. Let's see if I know how to do my form here. That's kind of where I am with that, and that's why I enjoy the tournament situations.
Very nice, very nice, very nice. I like it. All right. So something that I've been asking my guests as of lately is, since there is not a universal standard among not just Taekwondo or Kempo or any other martial arts, as far as what it means to be a black belt, what it takes to earn a black belt. There's drama in the martial arts about, oh well, this person got their black belt too soon, or they can't perform whatever technique or form, or they're not a fighter, or whatever the case is. But there's no universal standard for what it means to be a black belt, what it means to earn a black belt, what it means to continue to have a black belt. So I've been asking my guests what in your own interpretation, your own thought process of what it means to earn a black belt, what it means to be a black belt, what are your thoughts around a black belt?
Yeah, that's such a loaded question. That's one that's packed full of dynamite right there. We actually had this conversation several times in our own dojo among the coaches, because we I'm not going to say that we speak to a culture of kids with challenges, but we seem to attract a lot of kids with either mental or physical challenges that, maybe it's ADHD, maybe it's dyslexia, maybe it's, we have several kids that have, that are on the autism spectrum, things like that. We seem to have them gravitate towards us. And I don't know if it's because we just teach a style that is adaptable and that we're so, all the coaches just care for these kids. So like that said, we can't disqualify a kid's progress towards black belt or say, hey, you're never going to be a black belt because you physically cannot kick above your waist. Maybe they have an issue where we have a student whose legs just don't work too well. They're incapable, impossibly, to do some of the moves that would qualify them to be a black belt. Some of these forms where you need to do the strikes a certain way, some of them cannot do kungan or something like that because of the way their muscles don't work. But Taekwondo black belt is individual to the person. We have a student who is 10 years old, but he looks like he's an 18-year-old just because his body just develops so quickly and he's not able to keep up with it. Like, he does not know how to perform in his body. But he's got the mind and the spirit of a warrior. Like, that kid will never be able to run 2 miles because he just can't, he cannot. And that's a requirement, is run 2 miles in 20 minutes. But he will never be able to do that. But that doesn't disqualify him because he knows his forms. He knows the terminology. He knows that his drive is pushing him. So we look at an individualized approach to black belt. Is your spirit in it? Obviously there's going to be some physical portions of it, some memorization. You need to know your forms and everything else that we have on the agenda for, in the curriculum for. However, like, if I see that you have a fire behind your eyes and that your drive is to become better and that you're not just going for a belt, but you're actually trying to become a black belt, then I know that you are taking it seriously, and that, even if we do give you grace to become a black belt, you will get there. There's a lot of students that don't earn that grace, that they might be the best athlete that we have, and they're just not driven to become a black belt. I'm like, well, I really don't want you to test right now because I need you to work on your attitude. I need you to work on your disposition and why you're here. Because we're not a McDojo. We're not going to say, hey, you pay us the money, we're going to give you the belt. That maybe that'll work with level 1 type of belts, white, yellow, orange belts or whatever, even going into the level 2 belts. But when you're deputy belts, when you're, going for black belts, when you're at that end of that chapter of the road, that metaphor didn't work. But when you're at that end of that chapter in that book, we want you to start taking it so seriously, and that you know what a black belt is. And to me, it's about building that determination, about building that discipline, and about building your body into something that it wasn't. Not a perfect version of yourself, but as perfect of a version of yourself as you can make it at that time. And I look down on people that just give up hey, well, he's been here for 2-3 years, he deserves a black belt. Or, hey, he can do a 540 kick, he deserves a black belt. Well, I really disagree with that. It's not something that you buy. It's not something that you even work at. It's something that you become. It's something that you discipline your mind and your body and your soul into being is a black belt. And then that strap around your waist is just an outward appearance of what you have inside of you. And like I said, it's so individual, and we have discussions all the time as to, is this person holding back? In fact, we've gone so far as to start giving out questionnaires to parents, like, are there challenges, mental or physical, that we need to be aware of so that we can address when training your children? Because we don't want to look at a student and say they're being lazy when the parents are like, well, they're not. They're diagnosed with this, this, and this. Or they really are just spinning around on the mat, having fun and doing whatever. Which, okay, if that's your thing, if that's your jam, go for it. Have fun. Go stand in the corner and spin around. We'll take your money. Who cares, right? But if we're not going to get you past a point unless you are that. If you're in a diagnosable stage that you're like, okay, I love that you're here. Now let's work on turning that spinning into something else type of thing, instead of just like, okay, well, whatever, we'll ignore him in the corner because he's just doing his thing, as long as he's not interrupting. But now if we know that you're on the spectrum, or we now know that you have, some kind of a spinal issue where you cannot kick or whatever, now we can help you get to the stage where your black belt becomes your black belt instead of your black belt becomes the WT black belt, or even the standard, action martial arts where I train their black belt. It would be your black belt, and it might not look like your black belt. We've had students come in and say, well, why did they earn that belt? Well, your journey is your journey. And the way that you got your belt, you earned your belt the way that you earned your belt, and they earned their belt the way they earned their belt. And you cannot compare yourself to other people. And I love, that we're actually doing this for other kids, is like they can see, like, well, it doesn't seem fair that they got their purple belt when I got my, green belt. And why are they, getting their belt when I didn't get my belt during this testing? It looked the same. Well, this is a great opportunity to teach. Well, your progress, your journey, your training does not look like other people's training. And your black belt's not going to look like their black belt. My black belt definitely didn't look like other people's black belt because I trained for 6 months, learned 9 forms, and, stepped into a style that was completely foreign to me, after 30 something years of training. So, like I said at the start of this conversation, that question is very, very loaded. There's no answer. Excuse me. There's no answer because there's so many people in the world that train for black belt that it will never look the same. Even though the belt looks the same, the person that's holding it is completely different than the person standing 2 feet down from him. So,
very nice, very, very well said. I agree. All right, so we are going to move into our what I call the lightning round here. I've got a few questions to throw at you as we head towards wrapping up our time for today.
Sure.
So the first question being, do you have a favorite technique?
No, not yet. Still trying to find it. I like doing hand attacks. I really like doing ridge hands, things like that. Something that pushes pushing my upper body instead of the traditional lower body like Taekwondo is used to. I'm still working on trying to do turn my power techniques into finesse techniques that Taekwondo is now today. I think that I want the 360 spin kick to be my favorite technique, but I still land on my butt too many times for me to call it my favorite technique right now.
So
but that's my goal.
That's all good. You got something to shoot for. I like it.
I do.
I like it. Right. Next question. Do you have a favorite form and or set?
Ooh, that one changes all the time. So I think right now my favorite form is probably Kumgan. I would say Kumgan. So the 2nd degree black belt form. It's so beautiful. It's so graceful. There's very limited different movements, but to be able to put them together, like it's like chess. It's easy to learn, but it's very, very hard to master. So many small little timing changes and placements and turns and stuff like that, that it's just gorgeous. Also, Pumse 7. I really like how that's just all about connecting the heavens with the earth and letting the energies flow into you, and everything is about connectivity. So just flowing in from each of the blocks into the stances, and the changes of stances from like Apchagi into or not Apchagi, Apsogi into Jujumsogi or something like that, where the footwork is so integral, and it plays into the idea of the connectivity between the heaven and the earth, and you being the conduit. So I think those two, right now at least, because it'll probably change next week, those two right now are my favorites.
Very nice, very nice, very nice. All right, next question. Do you have a favorite weapon?
Favorite weapon right now is my sai. I like my sai. They're fun. They look cool. They're dangerous if you know how to use them, but they're mostly defensive. I'm not a fan of offensive weapons. I'm not really a fan of weapons, but I love the sai because it is so adaptable. It's got so many hidden little secrets that nobody really knows about, and mastering it is going to take a long time, and that's my favorite right now. Yep. I do have chucks. I do have bow staffs, or bow, and butterfly knives and things like that, but I always come back to my sai.
Excellent, excellent. All right, next question. If there is anyone that you could train with, living or dead, fictional or non-fictional, who would that be?
Oh man, I would definitely have to go back to my first coach, Paul Heroyan. Being so young, training under him, and knowing what he actually learned through several different disciplines, and being, who he was as a person, because he was always smiley, but if you were not at attention when he said attention, you'd be doing push-ups. You did not mess around. You had fun, but you didn't screw around on his mat. It was his mat, and you respected it. And like, if I was able to just have, another year with him, to be able to train under him and to learn what he knew, that would just be that would be a dream. It can never happen because, like I said, he's passed on. But just looking back and knowing what a loss this world has, because of him, because of his passing, man, I'd love to be able to step back in time and with my mental acuity now, to train under him.
Very nice, very nice. All right, our final question here is, what is something that either always motivates you to train, or is there something that you'd like to put out there to motivate others to train?
Something that motivates me to train, it's pretty universal, I think, is just be better. I never make a New Year's resolution. I know that this is the season to make New Year's resolutions, but I've never been one to do that, because if there's something that needs to be addressed, address it now. So my whole goal is to be better. It doesn't matter what that is. Right now, in my season of life, it's Taekwondo. My health. I looked at my dad had his first heart attack at my age, and I don't want that. I want to be better. I want to be able to run and play with my kids. I want to be able to focus on reading my Bible at length and being able to understand it on a personal level. I want to be able to use the Taekwondo as an art to be better. So my whole thing, and I know that it is so open to interpretation, but I don't have somebody poking me in the back and saying, hey, it's time to go to class. I don't have somebody poking me back and say, hey, you need to work on one of your on choreo or something like that. I have just me telling myself that it's time to be better. And that's, that voice will be always external when you're a kid, having your parent over your shoulder telling you how to be better, or when it's time to get better, or what to do to get better. But at a stage in your life, when you have to internalize it yourself, that's, I think, the ultimate goal is to say, what is better? What do I need to be better at? And what's it going to look like for me to actually be better? So that's my whole drive right now, is just be better, be the best version of myself, be the person that God made me and wants me to be. So, yeah.
Excellent. Excellent. I like it. All right. So we are at our final piece of business for our time today, and that is shameless self-promotion. So you can
Always.
plug anything that you'd like, or if there's anything that we hadn't covered that you wanted to make sure to say, you now have the floor, and then we will close out from there.
Well, I would absolutely be remiss to not give a shout out to my dojo and to the master there. I stepped in many schools over the years, looking at many different masters and instructors and teachers and stuff like that. But Action Martial Arts in Mundelein, Illinois. This is the place I call home. This is where I dug in deep, and I don't do that lightly. I don't go into a place and just dig in. I have to find a place where I can call home. And we do jujitsu, we do some gymnastics now, and self-defense, and combat training, Taekwondo, of course, and Master Chris there is such a godsend to the community. He's so careful about what he wants to put out into the world, and he loves the disciplines that he teaches, and he loves the kids that he teaches, as well as the adults. I mean, it's kind of weird for him to say, or for me to say that he loves the adults, but he loves us like brothers, and the martial arts community is a real thing for us, and if you are happening to listen and you are in the area, that I love the place, and I would never say that this is the place where you belong, but it's a place to check out. It's such an honor to be able to tell my story. It's not the most glamorous or the sexiest story out there. I know that. I've come through here with broken bones, and I'm a balding middle-aged white guy, and doesn't it might not seem like it's an important thing, but it's great to be able to say I was able to get back on this, and I was able to get something out and put something into martial arts. So the reciprocity between giving and taking has been fundamental to me throughout my whole journey, not just in martial arts, but in life. And it's great to be able to speak on that, and so great for you to give me the honor and the opportunity to sit here and yak my jaw for an hour and a few minutes here, and just give me the platform. So honestly, thank you from the bottom of my heart to be able to tell my story and to just trust me to say stuff, even if you have no idea who I am. You trust me to say something that might light a little darkness in somebody's spirit, and push them a little bit harder than they were pushing themselves yesterday.
Very well said. Very well said. So I thank you for taking the time to share your story. I'm a firm believer that we all have a story to share, and hopefully with this show that I can help get people's stories out there. I mean, it's nice to get the who's who, I won't name any specific names, but the people out there in the martial arts world that have been interviewed a million times over, and not to say that I don't want to interview them as well, but I'm all for having both the knowns and the unknowns, and I think we all have a story to share, and we can all learn from each other and inspire each other, and allow these arts and systems and things that we're involved in to connect us and help spread the word and inspire each other and work towards that greater world, that more connecting, especially in these times after being in a situation where we were so isolated for a couple years, and all other kind of nonsense that's been going on lately. It's good to have an outlet where we can connect. So I thank you so much for your story and your time. You have an open invitation to be on any time in the future. I mean, there's always so many more things that I want to get to, but we only have so much show time. So I thank you again, and I can't wait to get this together for everyone to hear. So thank you again.
Absolutely. Thank you again. And it's been an honor and a pleasure. And whenever you want to reach out, I'm here and probably doing something at my desk anyway. So let's rock it.
Fantastic. Thank you.
All right. Have a great day.
Thank you for listening to My Empty Hands. If you enjoyed the show, please share it with a friend. If you didn't enjoy it, please share it with an enemy. If you'd like to be a guest, or if you would like to recommend a guest for the show, please email me at podcast@talkingkempo.com. Thank you.